let's talk about this. This is pretty cool. Marvel reportedly planning to introduce a new version of one of its greatest comic book villains. This is over on Murphy's Multiverse.com. The article reads, though the casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom has been met with heavy skepticism, the villain's arrival in the MCU is certainly overdue. Downey's Doom, rumored to debut in a post-credit scene in the Fantastic Four ahead of the first major role in Avengers Doomsday, will be the third live-action iteration of that character, following the late Julian McMahon's vain and menacing Victor and Toby Kebbell's hacker Doom. While it's unclear what Marvel Studios has planned for Doom, it seems like Downey's version will have little in common with the previous versions and likely be a bit more comic accurate in terms of his roots as a mystic. The studio plans to do with Doom is beyond the multiverse saga, and it's not clear. But a new rumor claims Marvel has plans to introduce its own version of another villain who, like Doom, has previously been portrayed by a pair of actors. According to Marvel insider Daniel Rickman, Kevin Feige and crew are planning to introduce the MCU version of Norman Osborne. Oh my God. First played most famously by the recent Willem Dafoe in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and Spider-Man No Way Home, and briefly by Chris Cooper in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Osborne is considered not only Spider-Man's greatest villain, but one of the House of Ideas' most menacing baddies. Though he's recently been an ally to the web slinger in the comics, including in Joe Kelly's ongoing series, he's the type of villain who, when utilized properly, can threaten the entire Marvel universe. Though Rickman's report doesn't give any detail on the studio's plans for Osborne, nor indicate when to expect him, it may be versatility and potential to serve as a large-scale villain that the studio values most. Spider-Man Brand New Day, which begins filming soon, could provide a good opportunity to show Norman Osborn. Okay, so first off, Norman Osborn and the Green Goblin is an S-tier Marvel villain. All of you in chat hate that and you disagree with me, but I've always said that Norman and the Green Goblin is S-tier, and I am so glad that he's back. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, there's more to this than meets the eye, motherfucker. And I know, sometimes you guys don't like it when I call you motherfucker, but you motherfuckers better listen up, because there's way more to this than meets the eyes, motherfucker. So allow me to do what not many can and provide you context, because I've been chronically online studying Marvel and reporting on it for 9 years. What you might not remember is that this is not the first time that we've heard these reports. This is not the first time we've heard this. And in fact, the Oscorp Tower was supposed to be in the skyline of the first Avengers movie. Shh, 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 shh. Shut your mouth. I'm gonna tell you some shit. Shh, 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 shh. Hush, hush now. Hush now. Yeah, that's right. Oscorp Tower was supposed to be in the skyline of the very first Avengers movie. On top of that, do you guys remember the rumors about 5 years ago that Marvel Studios wanted a split story after Endgame? They wanted a Earthbound story, and they wanted a cosmic story. Do you remember that? Anybody remember? Rossi says, finally, S-tier Goblin we deserve. Marvel is back. Hell yeah. Okay. So at the time, Norman was being looked at. Kevin Feige badly wanted Norman Osborn. And in fact, there were people like, dude, do you guys remember a scooper known as Professor Hulk? I'm taking you way back, man. But do you guys remember Professor Hulk? I believe his name was Nick Santos. I know, bro. I can't pronounce things. I can't spell things. I can barely remember what I had for breakfast. But for whatever reason, I fucking remember silly ass shit like this. Okay? Anyway, so this guy actually had a really big scoop that Norman was coming back. And in fact, do you guys remember that there was a scoop from Grace Randolph. Have you guys ever heard of Grace Randolph? You ever hear of Grace Randolph? Do you know Grace Randolph? Mr. Jazz says, off topic, but I've never heard you mention Snyder in relation to Warhammer, and I'm surprised. I think his sensibilities would be perfect for it. Should Cavill reunite with Snyder for Warhammer? Yes. But also, please remind me outside of this segment, and I'll gush about that, okay? Yeah, Grace Randolph. Icon. Queen. Mother. The final form of wokeness. Look, we love Grace Randolph. At least some of us do. Grace Randolph has two big scoops that she got super wrong that kind of haunt her to this day. One of them was about some dick pics that were in the Birds of Prey movie. By the way, she was right about that, but the internet will never give her credit for it. The other one was that Norman Osborn was going to be introduced in one of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, the MCU version of Norman Osborn. This actually happened. This literally happened. Okay? And I got to tell you, I think she was right then as well. From what I understand, Marvel was very close to introducing their Norman Osborn, just like when they almost put Oscorp into the skyline of the 2012 Avengers movie. And from what I understand, Kevin Feige has been wanting Norman Osborn to be a part of the MCU for a long, long time. But he wants control. Okay? So there's actually a lot of history around this character and Kevin Feige's desire to have this character be a big part of the MCU. And the rumor was, just to be super clear, the rumor was, and both Nick Santos' character and Grace Randolph both reported that this was going to happen, that at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, Peter was going to find the MCU version of Norman. Okay, now obviously that gets changed because Norman in the film's like, there is no Oscorp, my son doesn't exist and all that sort of shit, right? But anyway, the point is, I actually believe her. And from what I've heard, this was on the table. Okay, now, listen, Linda, because there's even more. Shh. Shut. Oh, look, you can see the cut that I acquired on my finger in HD. That's kind of weird, but just shh. Hush your mouth, okay? There's more. What do we know about Kevin Feige's plan with Spider-Man from Endgame to around October of 2019? What do we know? We know that Kevin Feige wanted Peter Parker and Spider-Man to be one of the faces of the MCU. So do you think it's a fucking coincidence that Kevin has wanted Norman Osborn forever, and he was about to make Tom Holland the face of the MCU, then Sony pulls that shit back, and then he makes a movie with Sony anyways, and he makes Norman Osborn the main fucking villain of it? Can't you see what's happening? Don't you see? Well, what else is going on? Well, we just found out that Sony has canceled all future spin-off plans from the Morbius movie, and including Noel. Are you seeing where we're going with this? Do you read the tea leaves? Are you starting to pick up what I'm setting down? If Kevin Feige is really circling the Norman Osborn character again, and Sony is really canceling all of their future plans, I take this as yet another sign that Sony is relinquishing control of Spider-Man back to Disney, maybe even selling the license back at a huge fucking price. Yeah. So we don't know. Okay, but start to think about it. Where's all this stuff coming? All this stuff's coming from Daniel? All of a sudden, Daniel's like, they're canceling their plans. All of a sudden, Daniel's like, they want Norman again. I have a lot of trouble believing that after 2019, Kevin Feige would revert to his prior plan if he didn't have the confidence that he'd actually be able to do it. Now, they did sign contracts, and I believe Tom is locked in for like 4 more films or something like that. But if it's Norman and it's Tom and Sony's canceling all their shit, all of a sudden I'm starting to think it is possible that Spider-Man is truly coming home. And I think that Sony is going to sell. That's what I think. So this is wild. Even if it's just that we're getting another Norman, that's wild. But I'm telling you, there's deeper context here. There's more to it. And I think this is a sign that Kevin's getting all the toys. And I think he's going to do what he wanted to do before in Phase 4 and 5. But now he's going to do it in the Cosmic X-Men Saga thing after the reboot. That's what I think. So that's the report. What do you guys think about that, man? Thanks for watching. And if you like this clip, smash a like on the actual video and subscribe to this channel. That way more of these clips get into your feed. I've also linked the full episode below if you want to check out the entire thing, including the Q&A we do with fans. You can also watch this show live. We do it live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And you can also find all of my content, including the videos I put on my main YouTube channel, on the podcast feed.